Hi there. Joseph Carabas here. Once again, the wonderful little Zoom lady has allowed us to record in progress. It's a wonderful thing. You're listening to Bronski Beat. If you've never heard of Bronski Beat, shame on you. An amazing group that I actually first encountered a long time ago, probably before many of you were born. God, I'm getting old. I think what Bronski Beat is perhaps best known for, aside from astounding music, is they were the first commercially viable, recognized gay band. At least that's what I remember of them. I could be completely mistaken. But I do remember that, and I remember not knowing anything about their sexual choices in life, just being astounded by their music. So go find them, go listen, Bronski Beat. Today's topic is unreliable witnesses. I'm not really sure about them. See, that's the thing. Unreliable witnesses. You may have, if you watch mysteries, if you read mysteries, one of the things you may encounter is somebody saying about someone else they're an unreliable witness. A lot of times that means they don't tell the truth. A lot of times that means they recognize they're fabricating, they're saying stuff to garner approval or acceptance or something like that. That is an interesting case, but as far as writing goes, one of the most powerful tools that I use is having a character who is believable, who's a recognized character and who everybody else in the story gets along with, has a good time with. However, who the reader recognizes is unreliable. They are not saying exactly what happened, excuse me, as the way it happened or how it happened or what happened. And it's not because they are intentionally falsifying. They're not trying to evade anything. They genuinely don't know. Give you an example. Most people, unless they have hyperthymesia, are unreliable witnesses to their own life. They edit their memories without meaning to. So that's one reason when police are interviewing people after a crime, they want to interview as many people as possible. And they don't take everybody's stories as gospel. What they do is everybody agreed to that point, everybody agreed to that point, everybody agreed to that point, everybody agreed to that point. Therefore, those are the things that are valid and true. That's reliable information. But all the other stuff, how tall do you think the perpetrator was? He was 5'6". Next guy said, well, they were 5'9". That guy says, well, they were 5'3", 7'2". That's unreliable. But if everybody was to say, I think they were like 5.5, 5 feet tall, 5.5, somewhere in there, 5'6", 5'4.5", 5'7", something like that. Okay, rough idea. That's good. So unreliable witnesses. You have a character in a story who may be the main character, maybe the focus point character. At some point in the story, they're going to be a point of view character, perhaps. And prior to them having to relate and recount something, the reader was given the information either through narration, through exposition, through dialogue of other characters, whatever. They were basically shown some event. And now it comes time for this character to relate those events to others. And they don't relate the entire event. They don't relate it correctly. They set things out of order, but they do this a lot. They're unreliable witnesses. Unreliable witnesses have a lot of power to me in a story because they can tell the reader, they can signal the reader, something's not right, something's going to change, this person I have to watch out for. More than that, they have to make sure that the other characters in the story are paying attention and watch out, but the other characters don't know, right? It's like that Alfred Hitchcock concept of tension that I mentioned earlier, some number of experiments earlier, where the audience knows there's a bomb under the table, but the two people are sitting at the table at a cafe and they're just having a wonderful time. They're sipping their coffees, they're drinking their drinks, but they don't know that bomb's ready to go up, but the audience does. That's amazing amount of tension. Okay. So here we have tension for the audience, the reader, to recognize when the unreliable witness says something to another character, and it's important that that other character have reliable information so they can act upon it. That is a powerful tool, because now the reader is on the side of the other character going, don't pay it, don't, my God, don't do that. Don't do what he said. No, he's a schmuck. And if you don't know what a schmuck is, look it up. So the unreliable witness, the unreliable character, see, that's a little bit different to me. Someone's an unreliable witness. They are not intentionally misleading. They just don't know, or they're imagining it rather than remembering it. And that can also be done by having one person lead the other person, basically backfill information to them. When you have one character say to another character, for example, you remember that we were there together that night, and they weren't really together. The other person, to be kind, to be gracious, 9 times out of 10, because they're a bit of an adult, will go, oh yeah, right, yeah. So for example, in a police procedural, that other character is now an unreliable witness. Okay. So this is going to be happening a lot if you write mysteries, detective stories, or if you have puzzle stories. I'm not really, even though I have written some mysteries, I'm not really sure they're categorical mysteries so much as they are puzzle stories. Yes, somebody dies in them, all that kind of interesting stuff, but they're more a what done it, who done it, why done it, what the hell is going on with this thing, rather than a straight linear progression. I tend to have, as I often do, multiple, Cecil B. DeMille production characters, which a recent reader of Search put a review up. They enjoyed all the characters. They thought it added a lot to the story. Yes. I get sometimes worry about stuff like that. So the unreliable witness is not an unreliable character. They are an unreliable witness to their own life and events in the story. The unreliable character is the intentionally deceitful person, who you've crafted that person to be deceitful, to be a liar, to be a cheat, to be a con person, a grifter. That's entirely different. They are intentionally wanting to cause harm and hurt. The unreliable witness is not. They want to help. They just don't know the truth from fiction. They don't know the fact from the fallacy. So whatever they're sharing, you have to somehow let the reader know that's not correct. Be ready for something to happen because of that. And that's a plot point. And that adds tension, because the reader is now going, oh my God, that person didn't say what happened. They were a nice person. They didn't mean to do it that way, but they didn't. They left something out, a very important piece. Ooh. You and the reader know that. The characters in the story don't. That means something's going to happen. Unreliable witnesses. Hope you're having fun with this, because I sure am. Thank you. Take care. I'm looking for the button. Yes, there it is. Bye-bye.